Hey guys, how's it going? And thanks for coming. I'm Nick, and this is Real Life Money, where we talk about real life and money, because you know schools aren't, so let's get started. So quick announcement before we get started. The last video that I put out, I told you guys, well, first of all, for any of you that comment in the videos, I think it's awesome. Thank you so much. I think it's awesome to connect and talk to each other. But I suggested I'm going to wait 24 hours when I first post it. Then I'm actually going to answer either a question or a statement that I'm interested in, and I'll answer it on Instagram. So I just posted the last video's response. It's kind of bad, so you could make fun of it if you want, but I want to continue on with that. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, I'll choose one tomorrow to answer on Instagram to connect with you, and I'll give you a shout out. Moving on to the main course of this video is 3 stocks that I'm buying for the next month of, what the heck's the next month? July 2018. So the stock market has a few good buying opportunities for some stocks out there, guys, and the 3 picks that I have for you are definitely very interesting to look into. So let's begin. Now these are all kind of growth stocks, but the first stock we're talking about, I talked about it before, it kind of got into the buying opportunity range, which is Solar Edge Technologies. You could see by this chart why I'm interested in it, because it's been down almost 30% in a month. So if you forgot or didn't realize that I talked about this before, real quick, what Solar Edge does, like in the name, it's a solar company, actually international. It's based overseas, well, I'm in America, overseas in Israel. So international, so that's a decent diversification away from just American companies. But they're interesting in a couple ways. They're unique because they're not just a normal solar company. They have this converter where most solar panels are kind of like batteries. It stores the energy. The converter that they have, it actually converts the energy into alternating current, so it could be used in a house, so a normal person could actually use it in an outlet. So that's one of the couple reasons why they're unique for these converters. And I just saw a recent news article that they're actually filing an infringement lawsuit against another company in Germany. I read through it real quick. It seems like they were kind of doing similar things to what they were doing, like their converters and their strategies. So you could see that this is definitely a unique space. So getting into some numbers, nothing too crazy, but we could see their trailing PE is just under 21, and their forward PE, which attracts me even more, is in the 13 range. That is low, and if you move over to the 52-week change, which is why I'm even more interested, in the past year it returned 140%. That would attract anybody. And real quick, I do look at the PEG ratio every once in a while, but that is price to earnings to growth. So that's actually, since it's under 1, it could be seen as undervalued as well. Their revenues, you can see they're increasing. We're looking at 15, 16 into 17, so definitely growing there. And something that I love even more than increasing revenues is increasing net income. You could be increasing revenues, but you could still be losing money. So you could see their net income, they're actually making money, which is actually interesting because a lot of solar companies are actually losing money. So these are one of the few that is actually giving investors something to look forward to. So you can see some of the charts on the side, their earnings, revenues, and everything is increasing very nicely. So a couple reasons why there was a huge drop in the recent month. I think there's a few things going on. Recently, gas has been very volatile, and I think gas and solar are kind of if gas moves, then solar moves. But also, what was a huge change was when Trump is talking about these overseas tariffs. And when this tariff happened, solar got destroyed. That one day, Solar Edge was down 7 to 8%. Now these tariffs are over in China, and this could limit Chinese solar growth. However, since SolarEdge is an international company and deals with different countries, it's just not China, so they have a bunch of other opportunities. I think China is just like a small, I'm assuming they deal with China, but it's probably just a small subdivision of their actual business. They're all over the world. So this Chinese tariff was seen as a bad thing, but in my opinion, I think this created a great buying opportunity, and since it basically kept all the fundamentals of the company the same. So looking back to the chart, you can see I hovered over kind of the peak area of around $66. That was after their earnings, and they dropped after that. So if it just rebounds back up to the $66 range, that rebound would be around a 35% return, and that could be possible, especially with their growth. So I see some long-term growth happening here, guys. I don't want to get scared from this drop in solar just because solar's kind of all over the place. But in the future, I'm looking like years, multiple years, maybe 5-10 years into the future, possibly. We'll have to see what happens. But that could be tremendous. But moving on to the second stock that I'm looking at, we're switching modes, guys. This is like pure absolute growth, and it interested me because of recent pass in a bill that was going on. But this is a marijuana stock. This is Canopy Growth Corp. And there's a bunch of things going on. I'll go over it in a second, but this is their chart year to date. And you can see every single month is all over the place. You know, it started up 6%, down 15, up 22, down 10, and recently it's really crazy. So I actually had a recent video going over this specific company and why you might be interested in buying it. So I'll leave a link somewhere in the description if you want to check it out. But a couple of the main things. Canopy Growth, well, first of all, Canada is trying to legalize recreational marijuana, and they just passed a law. Well, next section or part of the law, of course, it's a long process, but it got passed. And the numbers were like 56 to 30, so it passed with very nice numbers. So this is just one step closer to actually legalizing marijuana in Canada. Now, if you see these numbers, you can see their net income and all that stuff. They're losing money. So obviously, because it's not legal yet, so it's not like an actual business. But if and when it does get legalized, they can hit the ground running. They have a lot of cash on hand to start going with this. So this is definitely not how I would normally invest. However, I do see a good potential for this just because it's probably going to get legalized and passed. Just from that margin of 56 to 30, people want this. Might have a bunch of amendments in the law, but once it gets legalized, that growth is going to be crazy. And the second reason why this is interesting, Canopy Growth is normally traded on the Canadian exchange because it's a Canada company, but they recently were put on the New York Stock Exchange. I think it was like toward the end of May, and I just recently found out. So Americans are now more easily able to invest into this company. So even if you have Robinhood, you could buy this stock because it's on an American exchange. So people are expecting this to pass. It might take a few more months, but I see huge growth into it. And when it passes, it's probably going to pop because of that. Now the long-term aspect is another question. So in my situation, I'm not going to buy a huge amount, just like a small percentage, because I do see growth here. And when it passes, it'll probably pop, and I might get out of at that point, kind of like a swing trade. So completely new strategy for me toward investing, but I do see this industry to be smoking hot. You see what I did there? And Canopy Growth is the largest marijuana company in Canada right now, so that's why I picked them. But for the third stock, I recently started looking at them and it never really registered for me, but I'm like, this could be a good long-term investment, which is FedEx. Now, FedEx is very interesting just because obviously everyone's ordering online. How is it getting to your house? Through shipping, and FedEx is a shipping company. A plus B equals C. So I'm recording this video on June 18th, and they're actually announcing earnings on June 19th. So I'm planning on releasing this video like that day, like today. So when they do release earnings, it could either pop or drop. And if it drops, that would definitely be buying opportunity, and I could get in on that. Looking at some numbers, their trailing PE is 16, their forward PE is 15, so kind of low PEs there. Maybe like undervalued to fair valued area. PEG ratio 1.1, so again, kind of fair, maybe a little bit overvalued, but their 52-week change is around 25%. Their revenues, you could see from 14 all the way up to 17, are increasing nicely. And even more importantly, their net income is increasing as well. Now, I was also comparing them to their, I'm assuming their main competitor, which would be UPS. So I was looking at their financials. They were down as well. But they have a lot of debt, and I don't care for their balance sheet. Now, FedEx has a lot of debt as well, but their assets are more than their liabilities, where UPS, it's kind of like in the same level. So I think FedEx has a little bit more of a cushion there. And that growth of shipping, I think that future is pretty strong. Now, an interesting little bonus for that, they also have a dividend, which I think it was around 1%. It's nothing crazy by any means, but it is a little extra push in there. So if it does go down when you don't want it to, you'll still get a little dividend action. So fingers crossed that they miss their numbers and the stock drops so you could get a decent buying opportunity for that decent future growth. So those are the 3 stocks that I'm looking at, guys. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns, please leave them down below. I'd love to hear what you guys have to think. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, Real Life Money. Follow me on Instagram for that bonus content. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next one.